So in this webinar, I want to showcase to you the one formula that I believed helped me tackle the HSC and help maximise my own marks. So for those who don't know me, my name's Justine. I completed my HSC in 2015. I completed 4 units of maths, so that includes 3 units as well as 2 units. So today I'll put forward the formula that I believed can be applied to each and any question to help you achieve, the best mark that you can. So just a quick disclaimer, everything I say and everything I present today is from my own experience, and it's what I believed helped me achieve my Band 6 in all my math subjects. It's all my own work. I can't guarantee this will work for each and every one of you, but I do strongly believe in this, which is the reason that we're here today. Okay, so we're just going to have a quick look at the syllabuses. So I know there's a current one and there's a new one that will be implemented next year. So I'm going to use both of them to show you how they can be applied this year, next year, and the following years. So I want to bring to light some specific keywords that I've just taken out from the syllabus. So this is the current syllabus. So the objectives, so the specific objectives of the course are, so to give an understanding of the important mathematical ideas and to introduce, your techniques which are relevant to the real world. It's really important that they're relevant to the real world, otherwise they have no significance. Also to appreciate the role of deductive reasoning. Just keep these words in the back of your mind. And I'm going to show you how I'm using the syllabus to form my formula and also how I use my own experiences. And also to enhance the mathematical skills required for further study. So this sort of links back to the idea of being relevant to the real world. For achievement of these aims, the following points are important. So understanding of the basic ideas, obviously. Attaining competence in mathematical skills and techniques requires many examples. So, the idea of practice, given as teaching illustrations and as exercises to be undertaken independently. So not only what you learn at school, but also what you choose to do independently alone. Since the course is to be useful for concurrent studies of science, you should be able to apply this mathematics to realistic problems. So once again, being relevant to the real world. So what does the new syllabus have to say about this? So they've called this, using the phrase working mathematically. So it builds on the skills developed in stage 5 and encompasses 6 interrelated aspects which form the focus of the syllabus. So the 2 key components of assessment are created from understanding, fluency in communicating. I just want you to focus on the understanding, as well as problem solving, reasoning, and justification. So, focusing on the word problem solving. So what is the formula that I've put forward today? And it is as follows. So the fundamental concept plus higher order thinking equals band 6. So what does this mean? What we're going to do is I'm going to go through the different parts of this formula, break it down for you, and I'm going to show you through examples why I believe this formula can help you achieve the band 6. Okay, so first off, the foundational concept or the fundamental concept. What does it mean? So it's about what the concept is, where the concept comes from, and the significance of this concept. So why do we need it? And how can we use it? What is it used for, right? Because that's the whole point about putting forth an idea, for it to be used. So once you know this, you're able to tackle a wide variety of questions in any form. So, when you rock up to class and your teacher puts forth an idea and you learn a topic, the furthest you can go would be learning what the concept is. You don't really necessarily go into where it comes from or real life scenarios, or you don't learn the broader context of it. So this is where the independent learning comes in. So it's up to you to go through different textbooks, examples from different textbooks, for you to know different perspectives and different ways of working through the question. Also, watching YouTube videos relevant to the topic will also help you. And I myself have also developed a list of topic areas assessed in the HSC and their relevance in the real world context. If you would like a copy, just comment below and let me know. I'll send that to you after this webinar. Okay, so the next part of the formula was the higher order thinking. So if you don't know, higher order thinking, it just represents this hierarchy. So I guess it's like, you know, the process of learning something and growing with that concept. So it starts with remembering. The next level is understanding, applying, analyzing, and so forth. I'm just going to look at the first 4 steps because I believe that's enough to get you that band 6 in the HSC. So from remembering to analyzing. So remembering, what does it refer to? So remembering refers to things like formulas that you have to memorize. So for example, the quadratic formula, areas of a triangle, differentiating basic log functions, just the standard basic formulas that you use to apply, you know, to really 2-mark or 1-marker questions. So this is important. This level is important because it's sort of the first level that you start out when you first learn something. However, obviously you need to be able to make your way along this higher order thinking. Otherwise, you're not really going to understand the foundation, or you're not going to understand the relevance of this concept. And therefore, you're not going to achieve that band 6. So for example, knowing the timetables is good to save time and building paths in the brain. However, it's only when you use that idea of timetables to manage your finances or finding which item is cheaper than the next that you actually apply this remembered idea to the real life scenario. So this is an example of why remembering it's not really going to get you anywhere if you just stick to this. So next is understanding. So understanding is all about your comprehension and how well you can rewrite that information, I guess, in your own words. So doing a question in a different form. So it follows, or it requires the same fundamental idea, but just in a different form. Next would be applying. So just like the word suggests, your ability to apply this concept in a new situation. So in a different context, and a different context is important because then you're veering more into the real life situation, the real life scenario. So things like applying the exponential function to rates of decay and growth, or looking at your maximum minimum problems. And then finally, you're analyzing. So it's linking new concepts to what you already know to work towards a solution. So it's all about building those connections, because once you can connect what you know to what you're trying to know, then ultimately you understand the foundation of the concept you're trying to find out. Okay, so by doing this level of thinking, you're able to see how many connections are possible with what you already know. And in this way, you're able to create more clarity and understanding in your solutions and in the problems, and finding the correct solution for the problem at hand. Okay, so let's look at an example of how we can link what we already know to what we don't know, or to what we're trying to know. So I give the basic example of your algebraic equations. This is finding x. So you know that when you have to find x, you're getting x onto its own. So what that means is that you consider the side with the x and you look at everything that is with the x. So in this case, there's x minus 2. So what you have to do is do the opposite. So the key word here is opposite. So you do the opposite to what is there in order to remove the minus 2 to get x onto its own. So the opposite of minus 2 is positive 2. So that's what you do. You move the minus 2 over, it becomes a positive 2. So what you're left with is x equals 9. So just remember, we're using this same concept, and now we're going to apply it to an equation that involves a log function. So something like log e of x equals 3. So just remember that we're always doing the opposite because we want to get x onto its own. To move the log e over to the other side to be with the 3 so we can get x on its own. So what you have to understand is, what is the opposite to log e? Well, the opposite to log e is e, base e, right? Just the same way that the opposite to minus 2 was positive 2. So the opposite to log base e is e. So that means in order to remove the log e to the other side, what happens is we take the base of that log, which is e, and that becomes the base of the right-hand side. So as you can see here, we're going to move the log e to the other side, and it becomes e, just base e. The log no longer remains, becomes base e, and the power is everything that's on the right-hand side. Okay, so it's x equals e to the power of 3. So this is just an example of how you can use what you know and apply it to something that's a little bit harder, or something that you're trying to know, you're trying to understand. So same idea, we're just doing the opposite to get x onto its own. So the opposite to -2 is +2, so we +2. In the same way, the opposite to log base e is e, so we e the other side, and so it follows the same idea. Okay, so now let's have a look at, so these words I brought up again, these are the words from the syllabus. Let's have a look at how these syllabus use certain words from, well, let's have a look at how my formula sort of encompasses these words. So the ones in blue would be the higher order thinking, the ones in red are your fundamental concepts, and purple are a combination of both, so your band 6. So problem solving and reasoning are your higher order thinking, so it's your ability to apply and analyze. Mathematical techniques, which are relevant to the real world, so that's your band 6. So it's your ability to combine your fundamental concept with your analyzing and your applying. So together, they form your band 6. Appreciate the role of deductive reasoning. So I've put this down as red, which is fundamental concept, because I believe that if you know the fundamental concept, then you know where it comes from. So you can reason and you can show some proof. To enhance those mathematical skills required for further studies in mathematics. So this is your higher order thinking, so your application to the real world. Understanding of the basic ideas, so your fundamental concept. Using many examples undertaken independently. So this is your practice, learning your fundamental concept. And finally, applying mathematics to realistic problems. So obviously it's your application, and giving your concept a broader context. Okay. So knowledge obtained through higher order thinking processes are more easily transferable. So what that means is you can understand the concept in a deep way, which means that you can apply that knowledge to solve different problems. So this is the essence of the HSC. What you learn in class is not necessarily what's in the exam, because they're not assessing your ability to remember, or they're not assessing your ability to understand, but rather assessing your ability to apply the concept to new situations, right? Which is in other words, your band 6 question. So if you are able to do this, to analyze and to apply, then you've basically got a band 6. So it's making your way through the higher order thinking chain with the fundamental concept in your mind allows you to form that band 6 response, and that band 6 score. It's important to note that practice is the glue that holds the formula together. So you have your fundamental concept and your higher order thinking. The only way that you can use those together is through practice. So your past papers, like we said, YouTube videos, your using different textbooks, using different resources, just getting a renewed perspective on the concept. Okay, so now I'm just going to go through a few examples. I'm going to show you how HSC questions incorporate my formula, I believe. So the red is the fundamental concept, the blue is the higher order thinking, and the purple is the band 6. So it encompasses both those ideas. So the first question is just a multiple choice question. It's from HSC 2012 question 4. This would be your fundamental concept, because in order to answer this question, all you need to know is the basic of derivatives, and it's just those fundamental ideas that come with derivatives. The next one, the blue one, so this one you're finding the values of k which make the function an increasing function. So it requires you to show an understanding of derivatives and combining your algebraic skills to find a solution. So this is more of a band 4 question, and therefore encompasses your higher order thinking. And then finally, the last question in purple. So this one is looking at, so this one gives you the curve f of x, and it's, and what you have to do is graph the derivative of that function. So this is a band 6 question. I don't know how many marks it is, but I would assume it's around 3 marks. This really draws on your ability to apply and to analyze what you already know about derivatives to answer this question alongside the fundamental concept. Another example is this one. So this is a question broken up into 3. So the first part of the question is your fundamental concept. So you can just use your basic rules in proving similarity. Your next one would be your, higher order thinking. So you have to explain why a triangle is an isosceles. So you need to understand the definition of an isosceles, but also how to apply that definition in the context of this question with the information that's given. So it just requires a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more of an understanding of what you're doing. And then finally, showing that EB equals 3 lots of AE. So I've sort of categorized this as your band 6 question, and the reason is because you need to find your own solution in showing that EB equals 3 lots of AE. So you need to combine all you know about triangles, about trigonometry, and about algebra to form a solution to this question. And although it is only worth 2 marks, if you're able to get those 2 marks in that whole 5-mark question, that pushes you up into the band 6 range. That's why I've placed it as a band 6 question. Okay, so that's all I have to present for you today. Just remember the fundamental concept. So it's just remember the formula. It's your fundamental concept plus your higher order thinking gives you that band 6. So basically, once you know the fundamental concept, you can make your way along this higher order thinking chain to achieving a band 6. And just remember that practice, amongst other things, is what glues this formula together. So it's the only way that you can, that these can exist. It's through practice, and it's through examples, and it's through independent learning. Private lessons, just visit the website, Compass Tutoring. Secure your 2 free lessons, and we do currently have a 50% off trial sale. So $15 per hour group classes, groups of 4 to 5 to master your harder trial questions, understand how to manage your time during these exams, but also learning a bit of those trial exam hacks. So for any questions, just visit compasstutoring.com. All right, well, I hope that helped. I hope it's offered you a new perspective on the HSC, I guess how they can build the questions, how they form the questions. It's just off the syllabus, and I've just simplified that into my own formula, and you can revisit that by looking at those examples that I've provided to show how this formula is applied to the HSC questions. So I really hope that's helped.